Hey, my name's Grant Tommy. It's my channel, Straight Six Fan, and welcome to this episode. Normally I'm telling you what this episode's going to be about in this little bit, but today I want to introduce myself to David Freiburger. I'm one of your biggest fans, and this video is all about telling you thanks for helping shape my automotive taste. Okay, I'll come clean. If you haven't noticed by now, I'm ripping off the whole Jack Conte's Dear Casey Neistat, who then was ripped off by Jarvis Johnson, who did a Dear Jack Conte, who then was ripped off by Kyle Marshall, who did a Dear Jarvis Johnson. But you want to know why I'm really making this video, Dave? It's because I'm on the quest. A quest for the perfect, imperfect project car. And why I owe that all to you. I guess it's probably only fair I tell you a little bit about myself. So, I'm 33 years old, and like most guys my age, you talk to yourself in front of a camera. Like most guys my age, you probably started getting into cars when you're like in 3rd or 4th grade, and probably had a poster at some point of a Lamborghini Countach or a Ferrari Testarossa. But most kids end up growing out of that, but for guys like me, you never do. And whether it was Tim Allen restoring a 32 Ford Roadster in his garage on Home Improvement, or Carl and Eddie Winslow in Family Matters turning an old cop car into Eddie's dream machine. This idea of a project car has been a dream of mine since my youth. And sprinkle on top of that then my dad occasionally telling stories of his childhood, his high school days, his 72 El Camino SS, or his high school friends' cars. And my older brother and me sort of landed on muscle cars. So my older brother's 2 years older than me, and by the late 90s, as he could see his learner's permit on the horizon, he starts subscribing to Hot Rod magazine. So me only being 2 years behind and wanting to be like him, but wanting to be different also, I ended up subscribing to Peterson's 4-Wheel Drive and Off-Road probably a year later. I'm thinking 97 was maybe his first year of Hot Rod, and I'm 98 or 99 me for 4-wheel drive and off-road. But by the early 2000s, I had made the switch to CarCraft magazine. If my memory serves me right, Dave, I actually followed you from both magazines. I think I subscribed to both magazines while you were an editor. But it was this idea of budget builds, or just the amount of fun that came through the pages of CarCraft magazine back then. You know, whether it was the budget street machine orange Dodge Dart that you rattle canned the final rear fender over the primer, or the Buick Electra 225 convertible that I think you only spent $2 grand on, or there was an article, I think, you know, you were making air dams out of cardboard trying to lower ETs, or how much nitrous could a slant 6 handle. It was just, again, there was so much fun oozing from the pages, and that's what I wanted for so long. And then there was probably my favorite all-time issue of CarCraft. It was an issue that had, I think, like 5 renderings in it. And I think the feature was something along the lines of 5 project cars you've never thought of, and it was that issue. I picked that thing up time and time again because I like to draw. That was like my dream job, to draw these cars. And it was the Boss 302 Trans Am inspired Ford Maverick. I think that was the one that was the one I latched onto. I think this is also the same issue where I first learned what a 1973 Chevelle Laguna was. But it was this issue that I think I would start my affinity for the odd body. I think this is where it all started. The idea that you could build something cool that existed outside of that 1964 to 1972 muscle car, cream of the crop era. And I go back to that magazine and think that is the point in time that I changed. But Dave, you inspired me. That hot rodding was always going to be within reach. Now, when I did get into high school, I never ended up having a project car because, well, my grades were never that great, so almost every penny I made in high school, I was saving towards college because I knew I wasn't going to get any scholarships. So I had to shelve my dreams for quite some time, but that passion stayed burning in me for all of those years. I mean, you can even go back to when I rode into popular hot rodding a number of years ago, and again explain my love obsession with the odd bodies. So, I'm like 2.5 years now removed from paying off my student loans. I've got some money in savings. I'm finally ready to continue or start that quest I talked about for the perfect imperfect project car. But Dave, to help me do that, I've come up with a list. And that list is on cardboard. Why cardboard? Well, because... Did I do that right? No, this is garbage. This isn't roadkill. But the idea is, I've got 10 criteria here. And if I score an 8 out of 10, I basically have no excuse not to buy the vehicle. But my objectives are this. So, I have a budget of $4,000. I want to buy a car for a certain amount, and then modify it, and then hopefully just drive it around, have fun with it for the summer, windows down, cruiser, whatever. You know, have my fun, but then, you know, when I get tired of it, sell it, hopefully for a little more money if I don't make a profit. That's not really the big issue there. But then turn around and do it again next summer. Same budget, same criteria, and I want to prove to people that you can do creative, relatable, budget-minded builds that, you know, the common Joe is within reach. But let's talk about that top 10 criteria. So, the more yeses I answer, then the more likely I will purchase that vehicle. Number 1, can it drive under its own power? Okay, so look, I don't have the skills right now to troubleshoot and get something going because I'm just not there. I also don't have a trailer. Number 2, is it free from major bodywork or paint work? Again, it's one of those things that I want to learn how to do paint and body eventually someday, but I'm not going to get that money back out of buying all the supplies, all of the sanding blocks, all of the body filler, all that stuff. So if I can avoid that, cool. Is the car made between 1973 and 1979? Again, this is what I call odd bodies. I want to prove, like, not a lot of people are out there going after cars in that era, so I think that's going to help me out on the budget side of things. And although those are like Detroit's dark ages, I do still think you can do some cool stuff with certain cars in that. Number 4, is the car $2,200 or less? Obviously, this means that I'm really close to a 50-50 split on price of car versus mod money. 5, does the car have a Kansas title? Not a deal breaker in of itself, but you know, again, the reason is if I go through this and I have a bunch of no's piling up, it just tells me, okay, probably not the right move. But besides motor and transmission, is the car complete? So this is one, if the car, say the car's close enough, I could probably convince somebody with a trailer to help me lug home something. But I almost would rather have no engine in it at all than a non-working motor, because I feel like I could, you know, then go to a junkyard, maybe rebuild a motor on the cheap. Does the car, number 7, does the car fit in my bay of the garage? Of course, when I bought my pickup in episodes past, Dave, you haven't seen that episode, but I've got limited space, and ideally, I'd love to work on it in here if I could. Number 8, is the car a two-door? So Again, it's going to be harder for me to resell a vehicle, a four-door, because not everybody wants one of those. But there's that. And I've got half-point systems that I'll go through here at the end, but let's just keep going. Number 9, does the car have good aftermarket support? And number 10, can the amount of work be done in the remaining warm months? Because honestly, I love not having to scrape my windshield in the morning in the winter time, so I want to park my daily driver back in here, you know, come November. But that's the top 10. So again, I don't need 10 yeses. I need 8. If I got 7, I just have to spend some extra time thinking about it, you know. And then I talked about half points. So let's go through some of the half points. The 2-door one. If it's a wagon, I'd rather build a wagon than a 4-door sedan. So that's a half point. The 1973 to 1979, you know, I think I could build a pretty cool, you know, maybe like a 1982 Ford Fairmont or something, because that's going to have a great aftermarket support. Or, you know, a 1963 Plymouth Belvedere. You know, again, there are other cool cars made. I feel like the sweet spot for me is 73 to 79. I think that's it for half points. But Dave, I've been going on too long, and again, I just wanted to say thanks. And so if you happen to actually watch this video, I don't even know what I'll think if that happens. But if you do, I would love to send you one of my straight 6-span Pistons tees. In fact, I think you would really like, I can get you one with black pistons on a desert tan, which I think, knowing your Jeep background, I think you would love that. So that's going to require 2 things out of you, Dave, for me to get you a shirt. One, I'm going to need to somehow know your shirt size. So we will figure out how you can reach out to me should you ever watch this. And then I will ship it to you totally free, just as a token of my appreciation. But then the other requirement would be I would somehow need to know that you watched this. So whether that's sharing the link on social media somehow, Twitter, Instagram. Instagram's not the best link sharing thing, but I would love to send you a t-shirt. But again, at the very least, I just wanted to say thanks.